So you're pissed off about the TikTok ban and you want to know what you can do. Well, you can contact your members of Congress and let them know how you feel. And this applies for anything, not just the TikTok ban, but any issue that you want to raise with your members of Congress because, we live in a democracy, at least for now, and we might as well use it. So I'm going to give you 4 ways that you can get in touch with your members of Congress and their staff. And, you can use these at your own discretion, whichever way you want to do it. You could also do multiple engagements. You can reach out to them in a few different ways, not just one. And you can do this throughout the year for a number of different issues. It doesn't have to be just this one issue. So the first thing you can do is you can call their office. And you can call their office in Washington, D.C., and you can also call their office in their local district office or their state office. So here's how you can find their numbers if you don't know who your member of Congress is. So what you're going to want to do is go to congress.gov, this website here, and over here, you're going to go to members, click on that, and then you can come down here. It says find your member by address. And you can type in your address. I'm not going to put in my address or zip code because I live in DC and we don't really have representation, unfortunately. But if you type in your zip code, sometimes you'll need to type in your full address because sometimes zip codes go across 2 different congressional districts. But for instance, if you live in California, if you live in, Sherman Oaks, here are your senators and your representative, Brad Sherman. And from here, you can find their numbers pretty, clearly, where their office is located in DC, as well as their DC number. So that's one way. Now, if you either know who your members are or you come to this website, you look them up, you could also go to their website. If you unfortunately are represented by Buddy Carter, a gentleman who made it very clear that he is very, afraid of children's safety on TikTok, but really could not give a shit about children dying in the classroom due to gun violence, well, I'm sorry for you. But here's his website. And most members of Congress's websites are set up the same way. This guy has an annoying video on the top, but you can easily find the phone numbers for their DC office and their district office. If you usually scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's usually some kind of version of this on everybody's website, every member of Congress's website. Just make sure that you're on their actual government website, not their campaign website. And you could always tell by the .gov, making sure that .gov is part of their URL. But yeah, so for here, again, the DC office number, but then this, man has 2 different offices in Georgia, in Brunswick and in Savannah. So whichever one's close to you, or you can call both, but, speak to a staffer in each, and whenever you call their offices, just make sure that, you're being respectful. You're telling them who you are, telling them why you're calling. Sometimes they'll put you through to another staffer. A lot of the time, it'll just be the first person who picks up the phone. That's who you'll get to talk to. Make sure you tell them that you're a constituent. They like to know that constituents are calling them, and they'll listen to you a little bit more than if you're just a random person. But yeah, tell them, you want to speak to somebody about the TikTok ban or about whatever issue you're calling about. Tell them that, what you feel about it. Tell them, why you're calling, what you want them to do as a constituent, why you feel this is an issue that they should vote one way or another, or, whatever it is that you're calling about. Another way that you can get in touch with them, besides, picking up the phone and calling, is via email. And obviously you can't just find their email online, but every member has some form or some way that you can contact them. And so usually there'll be like up here a connect button or a contact button, something like that. And so right here, he has send Buddy an email. So, you can click on that, and then you'll get a website page like this. Almost always they'll ask you to include your zip code because they want to kind of gatekeep for constituents to email them. But, it's pretty easy. You just like copy and paste the zip code from where their office is, because obviously that's going to be in their district. And that'll open up this form. They almost all have the same kind of form. You have to put in, a bunch of information, first, last name, where your address is. your email address. Make sure that you put your actual email address, because this way they can respond to you. It's not going to be them that responds, it's going to be a staffer, but you definitely want to make sure that you can get a response. And as well, sometimes they'll have this kind of, do you want a response question? Obviously check yes. And then, pick what issue it relates to, whether it's, jobs, immigration, etc. You could leave this blank sometimes, depends on the office. And then just type in your email like you would anywhere else. Dear whoever the member of Congress is, tell them why you're emailing them, etc. And then leave, a salutation. These messages do get read, usually by, an intern or a staffer, but a lot of offices, between phone calls and emails, will pay attention to how many are coming in, based on, a certain metric. Some offices have a, higher threshold than others, but if they're getting a bunch of calls or emails about a specific issue, usually they'll have some kind of a meeting or a conversation about it. They'll pay attention. So that's a couple of ways that you can reach out to your member of Congress and engage with them. Another way is to call their district office, wherever you live, whatever's closest to you, and try to set up a meeting with a staffer in person. Some offices, will do that. Sometimes they'll set up a phone call or a Zoom, but make sure that you're actually talking to a staffer, that is focusing on this issue, or maybe a constituent relations person, not just the first person that picks up the phone in DC. So having that, longer conversation about the issue is a really good way of making your voice heard. And again, to remind you, you can go to their website, find their district office numbers at the bottom of their website usually. Call that number, ask to speak to somebody, ask to set up a meeting. If they're not available right then, or they can't set up a meeting, get an email for somebody, email them, try to set up a meeting that way. Finally, the last thing that you can do is try to meet with the member themselves, not in their office, because that can be difficult to do, especially with this tight time frame. But, sometimes if you sign up for their newsletter, or you're following them on social or whatever it is, a lot of members of Congress, when they come home for, the weekends or for in district time, they'll host, a town hall or some kind of event that you can show up to. And sometimes there'll be Q&A that you can, raise your hand, try to get, a question asked, and see if you can get them on the record that way, because, you're doing this in public. There's going to be reporters there. They're going to answer the question. It's a great way to get them on the record. If you can't get a question asked, during the event itself, sometimes during the handshake line, or, a photo opportunity or whatever it is, it's a really great way to kind of hold them, and ask them a question that way. And so, definitely try to see if you can get a friend to record it, videotape it, whatever. But yeah, ask them the question. Again, be respectful, but be firm with why you're asking them the question, why you're, hoping that they'll vote a certain way, or you care about their opinion on the issue. And see if they'll answer the question, then, because it's a good way, like I said, to get them on the record about that issue. So I hope that helps. I hope that you'll take the opportunity to reach out to your members of Congress and, like I said, use our democracy to your advantage.